Hello and welcome to the 2014 Santa Clarita City Council Candidates Forum.
Dennis Hugh Conn says, give our people something to do, comma, for enjoyment and employment. They kind of rhyme, period. And if you want to turn that around, if you weren't listening, we're going to tell you again, for employment and enjoyment, semicolon, give our people something to do, exclamation mark, period. Now you should get the idea of what we're trying to do out in the city. When we first started the city with this hand, we signed no new taxes. We signed also to rotate the mayors. We did that every year but 1 or 2 years. And the other thing was to give no change in the names because of the fact that Canyon Country didn't have auto dealerships. The dealership is the biggest moneymaker outside of the resorts. So 27 years ago, together we sat together, really 28 and 29 years ago, and also Canyon County, we tried to do that. He was the head supervisor. They named the administration building. He wanted to make LA County its own state. Now they're trying to figure out about to cut up the state into 6. I suggest 8 from East Coast to West Coast, and that way we have 16 senators. It'd be much better than only 6. The bottom line is Mr. Luke Perry's excellent reporter. Leon Warden is the reporter, and he runs this whole place down here. It's wonderful. He's done a good job since he took over. The other thing is to give our people something to do for employment and enjoyment. We'll show you that by now.
Do you think we should change anything about the structure of the current form of city government? For example, the number of seats on city council, having an elected mayor, having city council members elected by district, etc.
We would put it back to the voters, let the voters decide, but there's no reason that these people up here, including the mayor to my left, couldn't be making more than $1,600. It's a part-time job. You go into the city hall and sometimes you can't find them because they're working at other jobs. It should be one of them, preferably the mayor, be full-time and get a decent salary. When our city started, it was $600, and now it's $1,700 and some odd change. But the bottom line is we need to give them more representation. Luke Perry, money I meant was very good on that question, and yes, we need to enlarge it. We have 15 of them in the city of LA, and we only have 5 up here. That doesn't make sense. And they have a mayor that makes 16 of them. So the easiest thing to do for the people is to let the people vote on it and decide, and the paycheck has to go up on everybody up here.
The city is looking at a billboard proposal from Metro. What do you think the city should do about this?
Well, I apologize I didn't mention you in the orange dress with the cougar because you were greeting us and you were really good, and I apologize to Perry from the radio station. I forgot to mention him. Some good people out there. To answer your question, I would put it up to the votes of the people. Instead of 5 of us out of 300,000 or 400,000 if you count the illegals, you know, that don't register and don't have the thing, we need to give our people something to do for employment and enjoyment. They could be part owners of the billboard systems. They could be part income from the billboard systems instead of just letting it go to one corporate giant. I would suggest to put it on the ballot. Also putting the city thing on the ballot would let the people vote on that. Don't let 5 people out of 300,000 decide what the city's going to do. Let the people that actually vote decide. It would be a great wisdom. Give our people something to do for employment, enjoyment. Drive-in movies are a great thing for fun.
Should the Santa Clarita Valley's emergency winter shelter be available year-round to serve the entire Santa Clarita Valley population? And if so, where should it be located?
There's no such thing, folks, as a free lunch. Every time you give something free to somebody and they don't work for it, they decide to do it more and more often. What we need to do is we found billions of dollars in this city by not using tourism. Tourism is a good, clean thing. The riverbed is a good, clean thing for our A and B students to use on a volunteer basis. They have in New York City, they have volunteers that run around like police and help out the police. There's no reason we can't have people like that in our riverbed. And the reason why is right now there's a big problem with this crack and this heroin. And heroin is the cheapest of all those drugs. So the reason why is that people are doing that, and it's very dangerous because it stops your heart. One person just died recently. So I would put it to the voters. There's no reason not to build a homeless shelter. We have plenty of funds in here available for almost $4 billion.
What do you think is the proper role of a city council member in terms of managing staff?
When we started the city was getting $600 and the city manager was getting $250,000. That's an unfair balance, way for unfair balance. We're not allowed to use props. This thing sitting on the desk is about the drug use and the problems with the kids out here. They need something to do. We need drive-in movies. We need a hotel with a view. We need a restaurant with a view. This is all under planning. This would be under city manager and the council people up here. We need a Greek theater, a Hollywood Bowl. We need a heliport out here badly. We need a TV station booster from Oak Mountain or from up at a Nike site. We need a booster to get you the FM radios that you can't get on the car. We have a beautiful AM radio station. Why not have an employee own, where all these people here would own the TV station, own the radio stations, own that. That's part of city manager. The city manager let us down and he ended up leaving here in shame. The bottom line, I followed him and I know what happened. Call me at 254-4040 and I'll tell you what I think. Thanks.
The city of Santa Clarita has successfully had well over 20 annexations. At times, annexations are revenue neutral, meaning they don't cost the city anything. Other times, the annexations bring money to us as a result of increased sales tax, and there are times we'd actually lose money. Would you vote yes or no to annex Stevenson Ranch, West Ranch into the city of Santa Clarita?
If we can vote for dancing and music, it's simple to amend the ballot before the 8th of April. That's the Tuesday for you folks to vote, but let the people vote on it. And if they can't amend it to put it on the same ballot, they can have a piece of paper at the things and everybody can fill it out, or they can have an 800 number to call in. So my power would be to give back to the people, let the reporters and the people in the TV land and all these volunteers decide on these important issues too. Why should just only 5 people decide on that? Annexing it would be great for Charlie Canyon. Joanne Darcy liked it, and through Castaic. And we could get a hotel with a view and a restaurant with a view and a PhD, PharmD, MD, OD, JD, because this lady at the Cougar, they don't have any representation for upper until about 5 years ago when I bugged them at City Hall. The other thing that's important is one of the candidates said, I will do anything to get elected to Joanne Darcy and I in the elevator. That same candidate said, now that I'm elected, I got to figure out what to do. We should have those candidates.
In order to encourage economic growth, the city regularly supports businesses with either tax incentives or subsidies to bring more jobs to Santa Clarita. If elected, what types of these incentives or subsidies would you propose?
We're out in the country. This is a city out in the country with streams and a river running through it, like Brad Pitt, the movie. And for the people to create more jobs, it's tourism. Tourism is the #1 thing that built all the roads in Europe for 500 years, 300 years before Jesus, and 200 years after, until they started feeding us to the lions, and that stopped it with corruption. The point is there's businesses that can be with billions of dollars. Our city tax was $376,000 when our sister city was $31 million. I told everybody on the candidates to do that. Because they're only part-time, they couldn't follow through with this. We need a full-time council. We need 7 people at least, maybe 10, out here to run this city. And there's plenty of revenues to get. Our current bill with the hotel that I bugged them, I sat on the general plan and the hotel that I bugged them for, they bring in $2 million, and our sister city went from 97 to 106 million last year. That's a big difference to pay for businesses and to help out the students.
When is it appropriate for the city to use public tax dollars to support services that the county is responsible for funding? Can you provide an example?
Yes, for funding, just follow the money. If you follow the money, all the reporters, all the TV specialists, all the volunteers, if you follow the money, what's happening in the United States, you'll find out that the county does health care. On health care, the hospital here, and we need another hospital in Canyon Country. There's no reason not to. That's sad. 27 years without a second hospital, it doesn't make sense. So the bottom line on health care, for the 42 million Americans that need it, they would come in swing shift. There's plenty of VA hospitals and medical facilities nationwide. For the people that aren't working, like the homeless and everything, have them graveyard shift. The purpose of the graveyard shift, because I was a federal policeman, guarded President Johnson, had guys die in my hands, a bayonet in my chest, I bled. They put me back together in the hospital and sewed me back up. So the bottom line is it's important to find the funding that's available. Princess Cruz is taking the money out of the country, I'll explain later.